Welcome to Men of Honor, where we showcase thought leaders who are making a difference in the world through their commitment to character and morality. Today, we are honored to have Billy Selekane right there in the hot seat. Born in the township of Tembisa, Billy's life experiences have shaped him into the epitome of the strength of the human spirit and mindset. Despite growing up in a challenging environment, Billy has risen above adversity to become a great father, a thought leader in human development, self-improvement, and a shining example of moral leadership. In a world where character deficits in leadership are all too common, Billy's strong moral compass and unwavering commitment to excellence makes him a very rare and valuable asset. Through his work, he has inspired countless individuals to overcome their own challenges and build the skills and mindset needed to succeed in all areas of life. So sit back and get ready to be inspired as we dive into the wisdom and insights of the one and only Billy Selekane, a true champion of character and morality, and a shining example of what it means to be a man of honor. Billy, welcome
Steve.
to the show, brother.
Thank you very much, my brother. It's an honor and a privilege to serve you.
Thank you for making the time to come see us.
It's a pleasure.
No, I will start very easy with the recent trip that you took. That was very exciting. Tell us about that.
So, I've gone through a very traumatic personal transformational process for the past 4.5 years. And in all that time, I started asking myself questions about myself more. And I said, you have done so much for the world, but what really have you done for yourself? And when you go through a trauma, you discover this person that was dormant, and they come up and say, hey, let's do this thing. So then I said, I wanted to challenge myself and do something that would seem at face value impossible. And because when I told people I was going to do this, they looked at me and says, are you crazy? You're not going to do this. You need to lose more weight. You need to gym. It's true. I needed to do all of those things. But one of the things that I've always believed, and it's true, that it's always mind over matter. If your mind is powerful, it will listen to your body, because in most instances, our bodies have become our minds, in the sense that your body has taken over your thinking. So when you're hungry, the body wants to eat now. When you drive past a Kentucky, the body it feels the smell of the aroma. It says to the brain, I need to eat now, but we need to turn the table. So for me, the Camino, which is a pilgrimage walk, has been around for over 1,000 years. And in the initial stages, it was done for people to go through penance, forgiveness, and they would walk and they would pray and they would meditate. And eventually they would get to Santiago. So for me, I wanted to go there and rediscover who I was and to have a deeper conversation with the Creator. Now, I'm not going to label the Creator. I'm just saying to have a deeper conversation with the person, with the Creator that gave me an opportunity to become who I am, and rediscover myself and win over the body. Go back to getting my mind to be as superior as I know it is, and just make sure that the mind takes over the body. And that's what happened, Steve. I did 130 Ks in 5 days. I was doing a minimum of 25 Ks a day, 25, 26 Ks a day. The first day, because when you start this thing, you prepare, you do all kind of things. When you get there, it's a different ball game. So you wake up in the morning, put my bag and whatever. Too anxious. Should I have breakfast? Shouldn't I have breakfast? I'm not too sure what's happening, but I've got an itinerary of, I'm going to walk this way, do this thing. There are signs that shows you turn left, whatever. And then I was blessed. I met a celestial twin. I met an American lady who we shared a birthday. So the 23rd of April was both our birthdays.
Happy belated birthday.
And then she said, let's walk together. And the first kind of 2.5 hours were really trying, because it was steep. It was going like this. And I was carrying this heavy bag, and she was not carrying a bag. She was carrying water and whatever. And after like 3.5 hours, she said to me, listen, I think we can do this. I'm gonna move faster now. She moved fast, and I was on my own, which was what I wanted to do. I wanted to do this as a solo trip, and that's what I did. I was on my own. I was contemplating. I was praying. I was meditating. I was talking to me. I was having conversation, with this man, and I was saying, who are you going to become when you come back? what are the things that you need to change in yourself so that you become more impactful in the world? Because if I look back at the work that I've been doing, I've done, by grace and by favor, I've done amazing work in the world. But I was at the level where I wanted to become even more impactful. But for me to really become more impactful, I had to conquer myself first. And this journey was truly a journey of conquering myself and challenging and reawakening that same belief that got me out of a very dusty township and a poor environment to being a person that travels the world and do what I do. Because, I usually say to people, nothing fails like success. Because sometimes when you become successful, you then end up being in a comfort zone. It becomes too easy for you, you're comfortable until something, happens to shake your foundation.
I mean, your worst enemy is your last success.
Exactly.
Because you tend to rest there.
Exactly, yes.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, this trip was purely about self-domination.
Oh, yes.
It's a self-mastery trip.
Yes, yes.
So this was more or less also like a rite of passage into the new Billy. This Billy,
oh, yes.
The Billy I'm talking to now is not the Billy that went there.
It's not. The guy that went there stayed there, and then a new guy came out.
Now, introduce me to this Billy.
So for me, this new guy is the guy that says, for a very long time, Africa has been a beggar to the world. For a very long time, we've allowed very ineptitude, very corrupt people, very uncaring people to occupy what we call so-called position of power, and that time has to come to an end. And the only way that this comes to an end is when we reawaken the thinking processes of the African man. Because everything begins and ends with men. If men are not centered, the society will dissipate and fall, as we're seeing what's happening. So this new guy says, I don't want to do this work anymore for the sake of being paid. Everybody gets paid anyway. It's a very boring thing to do. I want to do this work so that 1,000 years from today, some people know I was here. That the work that I do has to outlive me by over 1,000 years. And so this is the new journey. And by the way, I had written about 4-5 books which were hanging. I'm completing those books, So, and there's this new kind of hunger, the hunger to be more, the hunger to do more, and the hunger to engage without fear.
So, the Billy that went to come in or trip or trek, the Billy that was doing all this work that we people from outside saw as great work.
Yeah.
At that point, that was purely a stage for you. It was purely for performance. Now, the Billy that is come back on a stage now for impact.
Yeah.
You want to be measured by the lives that you change and the hearts that you're going to touch.
Absolutely.
That's the Billy that I'm
Yes,
looking
I don't want to be measured by how nice a suit. Ever since I came back, I've never been wearing a watch. Yeah. I'm a watch guy. So the watch guy is gone. Suddenly it's no longer important for me to wear my fancy watches. You know what I'm trying to say? And, I've always been in a suit and a tie. Suddenly I'm feeling comfortable wearing just a shirt and a tie, a shirt and a suit. So the guy that went had to die for the new guy to be born.
So this trek was your crucifixion.
Absolutely. I carried my cross, I got crucified, and I resurrected.
And you came back with the scars, but you survived.
I survived.
You survived.
And I tell you the scars, I tell you, let me tell you, at some point in time, I said to myself, what the hell are you doing? Why get onto so many planes, come here and just suffer?
Yeah.
But I said, you know what? I have to do this.
Yeah.
And by the way, Steve, not only for myself, but also for others.
But that's how you live forever.
Exactly.
I think we live in a society where everybody wants a tombstone.
Yeah.
Because that becomes the only way to be remembered.
Yeah.
Because they didn't really make any impact on others.
Yeah.
If we had to go the greatest leader that ever lived, Jesus Christ himself, he never named a building.
Exactly. There's no building named after him. Yeah.
Named after him. But he's, I think, the biggest leader that we've ever lived that is still influencing people 2,000-3,000 years later.
Yeah.
So I will now bring this back to I'll shoot straight from the hip.
Yeah.
Why do we keep on electing incompetent men into power?
I think you must understand how the system is designed. The system is designed, first we'll go back to the educational system. Our educational system is a mess. A lot of people, I tell them that in our educational system teaches people to remember and regurgitate. Doesn't teach people to find solutions. I will not mention the name of a university, but at some point in time, I got invited to this colloquium where they invited corporates and they were asking a question. And the question was, what kind of graduates do the corporate world want? And everybody was saying this, and I was quiet. And eventually, everybody recognized that I was quiet, but I wanted to really speak at the last because what I was about to say was going to shatter this whole thing. Then the guy who was facilitating then said, Mr. Selekan, we recognize that you've been quiet. I said, yeah, you know. And said, so what is your take? And I said, I'm very sorry, but you're asking the wrong question. And everybody said, what do you mean? I said, you're saying to us in the corporate, what kind of graduates do we need? I said, that's the wrong question for a university which is forward thinking to ask. What you should be asking yourself as a university is what are the top 10 challenges facing Africa? And how do we create a curriculum that will inspire thinking, that will create industries to solve those problems? Now we're talking. What kind of graduates we want? No, man, are you kidding me? We're in 2023, we're not in 1973. We don't want people to come with certificates just to show up in our organizations and put them in the wall and we teach them how to do things.
But also, just to add on what you say, majority of what our children are learning in school will be extinct by the time they qualify.
Exactly. If you look at artificial intelligence, if you look at technology, and it's true, a guy who's doing a second year now, by the time they graduate, all they've learned is not even important. By the way, they're building technologies to solve problems that we don't even know we have. That's the thinking that we should have. So, if your educational system teaches people how to remember, therefore it teaches them how to become subjects. That's what the educational system does. It teaches our people to become subjects. So therefore, the leadership knows if we dumb them down, they will believe anything we say. And if we create programs that are geared towards charity instead of true empowerment, they will have a dependency on us. So we will keep doing what we're doing. It's a system. It will just keep, the cycle will just keep happening. We'll get them to vote for us. We'll go and enjoy our lives. We'll have, South Africa is the only country where politicians have got foundations. Isn't that crazy? In the world, a person who creates a foundation is a person that has built a powerful business. Now they want to give back to society and they build a foundation. So where do politicians get money to build foundations to do things for people? It's kind of crazy. It doesn't happen anywhere in the world except in the continent of Africa.
So you're saying, Billy, and just for the viewer to get very clear on this, you're talking, I'm going to just take you a step back if you don't mind, the education system.
Yeah.
So are you talking about us producing educated servants?
Yes, we are. Unfortunately, we are. And we produce engineers, we produce doctors, but all those engineers and all those doctors, how many amazing bridges do we build in Africa, or they're built by the Chinese?
It's unbelievable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Have we ever created our own vaccines? What have we innovated in the medical space? We haven't, because people are taught to remember. You know what I'm trying to say? So we're teaching people how to go, learn the same book, remember what has been taught, give them an exam for 3 hours, they pass, give them a certain percentage, whatever. And actually, it reminds me of a story of a man who was looking for a job in a church. So this guy went to look for a job in a church, and they interviewed him. They said, listen, would like to send you an appointment letter. Do you have an email address? He says, I don't have an email address. This guy says, oh my God, you're kidding. If you don't have an email address, you don't exist. And that's how he lost the job. The guy went, he was a bit depressed. He went outside, he bought strawberries for $10. He sold those strawberries, and he bought the next morning for $20 the next morning, and he started thinking, wow, this really works. 5 years down the line, he built the most amazing strawberry company in that country. And then he was making so much money that he needed to insure himself and insure the business. And then the insurance guy came to him and said, I want to send you a quote for insurance. We've done. This guy says, I don't have an email. So this guy says, oh my God, you don't have an email. If you don't have an email, it's like you don't exist. This guy says, if I had an email 5 years ago, I'd still be sweeping and cleaning the toilets in a church. So if you look at life,
Perspective.
Perspective is always about perspective. And if we look at the way things have been digitized, artificial intelligence and those kind of things, our young kids can't go through education the same way we went through education, which is a monologue. One person stands, everybody sits, and this person tells you what you should learn and how you should be learning.
Whether you like it or not.
Whether you like it or not. And by the way, here's another thing. Each and every human being has got what we call a circadian clock. So our energy levels are different. There are people who are not good energy people in the morning. The energy picks up at about 10, 11. However, we expect everybody to be at school at the same time, to learn at the same time, and to live at the same time. What are we doing? So the educational system has made us certificated people who lack personal responsibility and initiative. And it has made us to become very sophisticated, dependent people. Very sophisticated, but truly dependent. Dependent on patronage, on the politicians, to say, oh, we're going to do this program, we're going to do that program, we're going to set up a small enterprise agency that is run by people that have never even run a business. Now think about it. There's a small enterprise development agency that is supposed to help entrepreneurs to access funds so that they can grow their business. But the people who make those decisions, that who access these funds,
employees.
They themselves have never started a business.
They're employees.
They're employees. It's a contradiction.
I don't want to go. I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there because the kind of questions they ask you, you sit there and you're like, really?
I mean,
I don't think you understand what I'm asking. So let's put that aside. Let's put that aside. The education system, there's so much, and I think we have to set time aside depending on your schedule. We talk about the education system. Because my biggest belief with education is that who you are as a person determines what you get out of the curriculum. You don't, it's very easy, it's very hard for a child from the suburbs in Santon and a little boy from the township in Alex, if you put them in the same curriculum, they're not going to get the same education. Because who you are extracts what you want.
Exactly.
If one from Santon comes from a well-off family and is going there, he knows and it's been instilled in him that he's there to rule the world, and the other one thinks that he's there to serve others. That's what you get out. But now let's come back to leadership. Now we have, in the whole world, but I want us to narrow it down to our own space here, South Africa or Africa in general. We have so-called leaders that have charisma but no character. We have so-called leaders that have power but no purpose. Leaders that have vision but unfortunately have no values. And these are people that we put in office. Now, how do we educate people so that we more or less know the people that we need to put there? Where does this fail? Does it fail when that person is in office, or does it fail when you and I, as parents, have failed to instill character and values in our own homes?
I think we must also never forget that South Africa comes from, we are a broken nation because of the past. And the past, we cannot, it's 27 years down the line, but we shouldn't take it for granted. I mean, we were broken completely. And I think what we need to do in this country, we need to teach, or we need to instill personal mastery at all levels, from school, university, technical, and FETs, or whatever. We need to teach. We need to reawaken each person's essence. We need to look at these kids in the face and say, listen. And that's what I usually say to them. Say, you are young, you are black, and you're gifted. Never ever let anybody tell you differently, because all of us have been born intentionally and not accidentally, and therefore. We need to say to people, and again, there's a beautiful Japanese concept which is called the ikigai. The word ikigai means the reason for being alive. We need to teach the ikigai. We know the ikigai, but in a different concept. Now, the ikigai says each and every one of us need to ask ourselves 4 very profound questions, and this is what we need to teach our people. The first thing that we need to teach them is, what is it that they love doing, not like doing. There's a difference between something that you like doing and something that you passionately love doing. And once they find what they love doing, we need to say to them, does the world need this thing? Will it impact the world, this thing that you love doing?
Not just serve you.
Yeah, you know what I'm trying to say. And the third thing that we need to teach them is, can it be monetized? Can this passion and this love that you have, can it be turned into a commercial entity that can bring you money? And the fourth question, which is very critical, is, are you willing to sacrifice each and everything to become the best of the best in this thing that you have chosen because it's based on your love? Now, if we operate from that perspective, it means we're now helping people identify their gifts. Because at the end of the day, the people that will impact the world the most are not the educated people, are the people that operate within their space of their gift. And you can look at Albert Einstein, we can look at Tiger Woods, you can look at Mark Zuckerberg, you can look at people like the late Dr. Maponya was an amazing entrepreneur. In Tembisa, yes, absolutely, I see his drawing here. In Tembisa, we had a guy called Joe Ngwasheng who passed away. He was an entrepreneur of unbelievable proportion. And this guy started with nothing. He found his purpose. His purpose was, I'm an entrepreneur and I want to impact my society. And that's what we did. And until we teach our kids from that very early age that you were born superior. We don't teach our kids that. So I'm going to say something that might sound a bit funny, but I'm going to say it anyway. So we take our kids to white school, they get taught by white people. Then they go to university, they get taught by majority white professors. And then they get their degrees and they get hit in the head by a rector who's white. Once in a while you can find a black one. And then they come look for a job in the corporate, and they work in the corporate where the Johannesburg Stock Exchange has got majority white owned companies. So what are we saying to these kids? We're saying to them everything white is superior and everything black is inferior. And it's wrong.
Subliminally.
It's
subliminal messaging.
Exactly. And it's so powerful that this child, and that's why you find when black leaders in the corporate world run organizations, they still want to sort of check with the white folks if what they're doing is right, because subliminally at the back of his mind he thinks, oh my God, they're doing me a favor, maybe whatever, employment equity kind of candidate, there's nothing wrong with those concepts, but the implementation thereof has its own issues. So I think we need to go back and teach our kids content that speaks about the excellence of Africa. Like I mentioned to you earlier on before we started, that the first university on planet Earth was started by a black woman in Morocco. When I tell people this, they think, oh my God, we didn't know this. I say, you did not know because you do not search. You are very happy with what you're being fed, and you believe what you're being fed is superior. I say, no, you've got to go back and find out. If you go to Angola, there was a lady, Queen Nzenga, who fought the Portuguese 5 times and defeated them. But those stories are not told. So the stories we told the stories about Elon Musk, we told the stories about Mark Zuckerberg. We're not told the stories about how many young people know about Maponya.
Very few.
Very few. Even people that are in the corporate world, very few, because we're not owning our stories anymore.
The narrative, whoever controls the information controls your destiny.
Exactly. Absolutely. And if you look at in the South African context, we have, as black people, have to start giving out positive content. I mean, if you look at TikTok, I'm not on TikTok, and for reasons that are quite amazing. They did a research in America and in China. And the research they were checking people from the age of, I think, 14 to 19 and 21 who were massive TikTok consumers. And they asked them, so what do you want to become? In America, 95% said I want to become an influencer. In China, 95% microbiologist, engineer, astronaut, astrophysicist. And you know why? Because in China, the algorithm of TikTok in China produces content that is inspirational. And the TikTok all over the world, the algorithm says, feed them as much rubbish as possible so that you dumb them down.
It's propaganda.
It's propaganda. So, I mean, how do you say I want to become an influencer? How does this thing work? And so we're living in a world where people with big boobs and big bums take videos and they become famous and become rich. There's no value add. What value do they add to the world? Nothing. And as Africans, we should stop. We should stop now. We should say the only way that we change the narrative of the continent is we have to own the content that is consumed by our children.
But you see, it brings us back to this. This is a cell phone. And as a cell phone, you can either look at this as a tool, or you can look at this as practically either a tool or look at it as, what shall I say? I'm getting lost here. Either you look at it as a tool or you look at it as a toy.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, most of
people
us
use it as a toy.
We use it as a toy, you know, look at, I just ate carbs.
Yeah.
I just did my hair.
Yes.
I mean, it's become the kind of things that we do. But coming back to leadership here, now I want us to talk about, for those people that are already have gotten into politics and all of a sudden the conditions and the environment has sucked them into what you need to become as a politician. We need to bring in the moral force of character into politics. What role does character play when it comes to leadership? Because I think that's one thing that we're lacking at this point.
Yeah. I think if you, I say to people, it's not your charisma that's going to be remembered, it's your character that's going to stand when things fall apart. And certainly character is, you can't teach anybody about character. It has come from the intrinsic value of who you are, of your value system, and of who you surround yourself with. Now, the political environment in the African continent and in South Africa If you look at the voting system, the voting system in this country does not allow us to vote for a man of character. You vote for a party, and the party decides who they throw at you. That's what the problem is.
So we're voting for personalities.
Yeah, no, besides personalities, you're voting for a collective. And this collective will decide for the whole continent, for the whole country,
So
who becomes president.
They can give us the face of Billy,
Yeah.
who we like,
Yeah.
and then we vote for Billy,
Yeah.
and then they throw me
Yes.
at you.
And what are you going to do as a voter? Nothing, because the
Nothing.
votes are done.
Yeah.
You know. So I believe that more than politics, we should teach these people that occupy this position about humanity. Because if I don't experience load shedding, if my kids go to a better health facility, if I'm being driven around and I'm protected, why would I worry about you not having electricity? Why would I worry about your public facilities where you guys are pushing each other? Why would I worry about your safety if I'm safe? You know what I'm trying to say? If you go to Europe, and by the way, I don't like to do this comparison, but I'll do it. If you go to places like Holland and those kind of things, you get into a train with a minister carrying a briefcase in the same train. Some of them ride their bicycles to go to parliament. No bodyguards, no blue lights, nothing. I'm not going to mention a name again. Many years ago, before this country was liberated, this person said, oh my God, when we take over, we're not going to have these blue lights and what. Like in the continent where streets are closed because the president's going past. But the same group of people did exactly what they said they're not going to do when they come back to the country. And now here's a fascinating thing. Once their term of office ends, they no longer have bodyguards, they walk freely. What's the difference between then and when they're in power? It's just this egomaniac thing that, I'm here, I'm the boss, I'm now making it happen, so I'm going to have people around me with machine guns and whatever, just to go into this ego trip. And I'm thinking, we South Africans, I don't think we want to hit a minister with a fist, or we're going to machine gun a minister and whatever. They've become so detached from society that they've got no clue what is happening down there. They don't understand. You can never understand how hungry a person is if you slept with food yesterday. You can never understand how cold a person is if you had an air conditioner. You can never understand how bad for a person it is not to have 3 meals if you had 3 meals in a day. So if you're too detached for the people that you're supposed to be serving, you can't serve them.
But you see, I need you to give them a message, because irrespective of how much we try to run away from the truth, truth needs no witness.
Absolutely.
Whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
Ours is to purely talk about truth.
Yeah.
If you can't feed the poor, you cannot protect the rich. And I think we've reached a point where I've never seen so many men on the side of the road begging.
Yeah.
And it worries me.
Yeah.
Because we're getting older.
Exactly.
And these guys are getting stronger, and they're growing up. This is a guy that feels he's been laid down by us.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because we become so immune to them to a point where I don't even see him.
Yeah.
I feel bad afterwards, but I know this guy. Now, how do we go back? Because apart from politicians are byproducts
of society.
of the society.
Yeah.
We need to go back to moral regeneration program.
Yeah.
Where do we start?
We start. I think already we've got institutions. We've got churches. We've got youth clubs. We've got schools. Unfortunately, we're not very good at. So what we need to do what's called social re-engineering. We need to re-engineer the social fabric of our society by using those institutions. And certainly most of these institutions are very inwardly looking instead of outwardly looking. So for argument's sake, if you look at the church, the church serves itself now. It does not longer serve the society as it used to be in the olden times. We need to challenge these men and women who have so much power over people. And we need to say to them, you cannot teach people about giving if you don't teach them about making money. You cannot want to pray for failed marriages if you don't teach people about building relationships. You cannot want to pray for the sick if you don't teach people how to eat and live healthy. So we have to stop being very philosophical and start being practical.
Right responsibility.
Exactly. We need to say, in this society, if you look at, I'll give you an example. If you look at guys from Mozambique and South Africa, all of them are tradesmen. Bricklayer, panel beater, plumber, electrician, you name it. If you look at South African young people, they don't think that is a sexy thing to do. However, a lot of people don't even know that some plumbers make more money than the doctor. But because the narrative is not told, they say, I don't want to become a plumber, I want to go to university. Not all of us have got the aptitude to go to university, but we've got the gift. So we need to use these institutions to teach, like to social re-engineer our society, but we need to also go back into the how. It's all nice for us to talk, but the how do I do this? You know, you can say to somebody, you know, I want you to become successful, I want you to lose weight. Yeah, it's all nice, but how am I doing this? How must I do this? When I leave, when I wake up in the morning, what should I do?
A blueprint.
We need to, yeah, exactly. We need to rewrite the blueprint. And here's another thing. We've got the so-called NDP, National Development Plan. Nobody knows what this thing is. You know, because it's so sophisticated that nobody knows. What we need for this country, we need a new vision. You know, I was saying to people, what makes you South African except that you have a ID, that you were born in Soweto or in Tembisa? What really makes you South African? Call Americans whatever we call them, we know who they are. But in America, they say, you know, take in the oven, car in the garage, the American dream. If you come here, you work out, you make it happen. We don't have that call to action as a nation. What are our values? Ubuntu is the most powerful value system in the world, but you know, we're busy.
We don't apply it.
We don't apply it. It's not. So we need to go to the church. And by the way, you know, church sits in a very, very powerful position to transform society. But unfortunately, it's not doing it. We need to challenge the church, you know. And like I'm saying, we're here telling the truth. And pastors should not be obsessed about the next BMW or the next Range Rover or the next tailor-made suit or the next watches. No, they must be obsessed about how do they transform society.
Impact.
Yeah, their obsession is, because their obsession should be, if my church is in this environment, I'm going to affect 20 to 30,000 people in these areas. Their lives are going to change because you are here. You cannot have an island of success in a sea of poverty. It's unsustainable. Like you're saying, these young people are coming up and they're looking at us. And one day, it's not going to be the EFF, there's going to be this young person who's going to come and who's going to say,
we're the enemy.
And I promise you, it's going to be bad for us. Yeah. It's going to be bad. So I believe that even politicians must understand, you know, this coalition fights and these deals and whatever, where does it impact the man on the street? How does it change their lives? How does it? It doesn't, you know, quite honestly. So I believe that we number one, we need to use churches are very powerful centers. Schools are very powerful centers. But by the way, I always laugh and say our school buildings are the most utilized assets in the country. They go to school from 9 to 10 and it closes. Nothing happens. We should use those schools' infrastructure to teach, to engage people. You know, we need a school and a church. For me, these are the two things that are obviously good at bringing in numbers, but I don't believe they're making the impact that they should be making. And that's where we need to start. So I have a personal mastery program that I've been teaching for the past 18 years. I'm rewriting part of it, and I'm going to make it as widely available as possible. Because I've seen people's lives change. It has changed my life. I've seen people who have gone through the program change. So I'm going to partner with a friend of mine who runs a church. We did some few modules just to test it, and there was a massive transformation in his church and things started happening. So this new guy that came back from the Camino is about impact. You know, I'm going to get this thing out to as many people as possible at my own cost. You know, I will, and like I'm saying, if somebody's watching this and they want me to come and they've got more than 50 people who can come in a room, I will show up and teach for the whole day. And I'll give you access to my digital platform so that the conversation can continue, then we can do, you know, virtual online mentoring. So that's what I want to do. I'm about impact. That's what I want to do. And we can't talk about it anymore, we have to do it.
So you see, Billy, I've been a big fan of yours, you know, looking at your background, what you've achieved. There's a lot people out there don't know about you. And there's a lot, in most cases, people see where you are now, they don't know where you came from.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, people miss the process.
Yeah.
And they see this is just a guy that is arrived here, and they think you just ended on the top of the mountain, you landed there by helicopter.
Absolutely.
They forget that you climbed up there.
Oh, yeah.
Now, out there's a man, as we spoke earlier, every man has to carry a cross.
Absolutely.
It can be financial, it can be relational, it can be health. We all have things that we're going through. And we live in a society where, unfortunately, man is living on the edge, and the society is constantly trying to push. And most of them, unfortunately, are jumping because we don't have a history of expressing ourselves. Most of us just don't know. Yeah. I need you to look straight into that camera. As a brother, as a father, as a leader, tell that man, encourage him, get him up, give him hope.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Like Steve says, a lot of people just got to know me now. But I've been carrying my cross for many, many years. And I believe that the time has come for us as men to build around ourselves what I call a band of brothers. When I mean a band of brothers, I mean men you can be honestly open to and with. And there's no shame in accepting your own faults. There's no shame in accepting where you are as a person, where you want to go. So I'm saying the time has come for us as African men to hold each other's hands, to look each other in the face, and to express this way to each other that I love you as a brother. And your success is my success, your failure is my failure. I will help you walk the path when you carry your own cross, because I'm carrying my own cross. But together, we will hold hands and we'll rebuild this nation. Because the only way we rebuild this nation is when we rebuild the man. And by the way, as we rebuild the man, we need to also hold the hands of the young boy. Because as men we're in trouble, think about the young boys. They're watching for us. They want us to give them inspiration, and we're also in trouble. As we go through our own personal transformation, it's also our responsibility to take the boy child and bring him closer to us so that they can become better men of character, better men of valor, better men of impact. We should shift them away from this crass material where they believe success has to do with material. There's nothing wrong in having nice things and enjoying them. But if your life is all about getting those things, you're going to cross many lines that you shouldn't cross just because you're trying to impress other people. So this is our time, this is my time. Each and every one of us needs to carry their own cross, but we need to reach out. On the left hand, reach out to the boy. On the right hand, reach out to another brother. And let's rebuild this society. And let's make Africa the proud continent that it always has been, but sadly we've lost it. This is the time. Let's do it now.
You've heard it from Brother Billy himself. And Brother Billy simply tells you that success is not defined, neither is success a 100-meter sprint. Success is a relay. And what he's talking about is you'll be defined by how you passed on the baton, not how fast you ran. And as he says, ours is to make sure that you're raising the young black boy while at the same time you're holding on to somebody else that you're ready to learn from. Always remember, irrespective of circumstances, irrespective of what people tell you that you are, and irrespective of your mistakes, you will always be a man of honor. The only thing holding you back is for you to remember that. Hit us on the comment section. If you have any questions for Brother Billy here, he will come back to you. Let us know what you want us to talk about. See you in the next session. Always remember, God loves you, and always stay as a man of honor. Brother Billy,
it's been a privilege
always,
and an honor.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.